You know, there's this notion going around college football that Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs can't recruit five-star elite wide receivers. They can't develop them at Georgia, and it's a place where receivers go to quote-unquote die, right? Hypothetically, of course. But Kirby Smart has put that notion to bed. It was a garbage narrative anyway, especially now that we're seeing, several wide receivers who played at Georgia go on to be picked in the second round, at least last year with A.D. Mitchell and Ed McConkey. But, make no mistake, if Georgia doesn't sign a five-star wide receiver in this 25 class, and I don't expect them to, it doesn't mean that they're not targeting and pursuing big-time talent, because I think they are trending in the right direction for one of their top wide receiver targets, and in my opinion, one of the best across the country in that class, and that's four-star Travis Smith Jr. He's a lean, athletic wideout with plenty of size, 6'4", 200 pounds, and I went to go watch him work out and speak with him last week. He plays at Westlake High School in Atlanta. He's ranked as the number 11 wide receiver prospect, the number 12 prospect in Georgia. I think he's a little better than both of that, or both of those numbers, I should say. And he's the 93 overall prospect in the country. This kid's a big deal, and I know he doesn't have 5 stars next to his name, but he's got size, he's got ball skills. He's got a little bit of A.J. Green to him. I'm not saying he's A.J. Green, because A.J. Green was the most talented wide receiver to ever play at Georgia. But Travis Smith Jr., you turn on the film, he's plucking the ball out of the air. He can catch and run. He's a vertical threat. He's a threat in the screen and short passing game. He's a crisp route runner for his size. He's a big target. The body control, his ability to catch the ball on the sidelines, down on the ground, right above the ground. He can again, snatch it out of the air above smaller defenders. I mean, there are not many defenders in high school or in college who can cover, a long 6'4" wideout. But he's a playmaking machine. Caught 53 passes last year, 892 yards and 11 touchdowns. Of course, speaking with him, we talked about his interest in Georgia, and that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm going to give some quotes about what he told me, his thoughts on his recruitment in general, official visits. I'm going to dig into all of that. So let's get into it right now. First off, he's a great kid. Great kid. He's got a good head on his shoulders. Mentally, the mental makeup, academics, that's all there. Everything off the field, he's got a green light, a check. But I asked him, what's your relationship with the Georgia staff? He said, they've been great to me. They do a good job of communicating with me and letting me know how much of a priority I am for them. They keep me in the loop on things going on over there. That was the first question I asked him. And again, you can read all of this over on Dawg Post. You can do that by signing up to our free newsletter. That link is down below. It's free to sign up, and this story is free too. So you can read a free story about one of the best wide receivers across the country from Atlanta, who I think Georgia is the team to beat for. So this kid's a big deal, and you can read all about this over on Dawg Post, so make sure you're doing that. I asked him, how quickly did James Coley, Georgia's new wide receivers coach, call you or attempt to reach out to you? How long did that take? And he said, before I even knew he was the coach, I got a call from him telling me I was his new receivers coach at Georgia, and he told me that laughing a good bit. He said, even before I knew he was the coach, he was already reaching out to me and showing me love. We have a great bond, and we talk a lot on the phone almost every day, which is, that shows. I mean, these coaches recruit. They do a great job of getting after all their targets as it relates to building a relationship with them, making sure, when they're allowed to reach out and call, they do. And so that says a lot when he's saying, hey, I'm hearing from him just about every day. We're already forming a relationship. And again, I think Georgia leads, but this is going to come down to Georgia. And I think Tennessee, Auburn, and Alabama are still in the mix. And he's going to give all 4 of those schools an official visit. I'm going to talk about a commitment timetable later in this video. But he said, Coach Smart does a great job of connecting with my family. He's a great recruiter and a great coach, but it was important to me to see how he gels and responds with my family. Travis Smith Jr. and his family were in Athens for G-Day. I got a good shot of them, and he wasn't necessarily, at least when I was watching him, with the other commits that I've talked about in other videos, Ethan Barber, Darren Ickenogben, Jaden Perlotti, Ellis Williams. A lot of those guys are hanging out around the 50 or 40, but Travis Smith Jr. and his family were around the 10, 15-yard line, just kind of looking around the stadium, taking in the sights and sounds. And he's been to Athens a good bit. He's no stranger to Athens and the environment, the culture. He gets it, and that's another reason why I think he's training Georgia's way. He said their pitch is all about how they can develop me. They tell me I'd be prepared for the league if I develop into a great player here. They'll have me prepared for every situation. They see me making big plays in their offense. First off, I got to do a little bit of a rant here because there's too many juniors out there. There's Travis Smith Jr., there's Juan Gaston Jr., there's juniors all over the place. And selfishly, it gets a little irritating when I write a story and then I realize, oh yeah, this kid's got a junior at the end. I got to go back and I do it. Just give your kid an original name. Just throwing that out there. No one wants to be a junior. There are way too many juniors out there. So let's get back on board with some original names out there, right? A lot of juniors. But these juniors are fantastic, and Travis Smith Jr. is an absolute baller. He talked about, I'm going to let y'all read this over on Dawg Post, but he gave me the plan that Georgia has for him, where, which receiving, spot, which receiver position they see him playing, the X, the Y, the Z. He talks about Ryan Montgomery, the quarterback commitment that they have on board, about how they're building a relationship. Then he talked about C.J. Wiley, who is a 4-star wide receiver from Milton High School. I'm going to go down to Milton soon. They've got C.J. Wiley, who's a big Georgia target at wide receiver, and they've got Ethan Barber, who transferred over from Alpharetta. So again, if you're a Georgia fan in the Milton, Alpharetta area, got to go see the Eagles. They're loaded with talent and a lot of guys that Georgia has their eye on. But he says, CJ and I have been training together with Coach Edwards for a while. He's talking about Terrence Edwards, former Georgia wide receiver, one of the best receivers in school history, the only Georgia receiver to go over 1,000 yards. And he is now the head coach at Mount Vernon in Sandy Springs. But he's a guy who trains some of the best wide receivers that have come out of the Peach State for years and years and years now. He's been doing this for a while. So if you're a really good receiver or tight end, Oscar Delp worked with Terrence Edwards. So if you want to work with the best and you're a tight end wide receiver, Terrence Edwards is normally the guy to go to. So Travis Smith Jr. talks a little bit about that, but he said if we were to go to the same school, he and CJ Wiley, that it would be scary. And it would. They're both 6'4", 200 pounds who can go get the football, who can run. They're lean too. They can add even more muscle. If they can keep that speed that they already have, that burst, that explosiveness, they're going to be really, really tough to handle down the road. And then commitment timetable, he told me, late June, early July. So he's got those official visits lined up. He's going to be in Georgia May 31st. So that first weekend where you can take official visits, basically that first weekend in June that starts May 31st. That's when he's going to be in town with Ryan Montgomery, with Ethan Barber, a lot of guys. That's going to be a major weekend. Look for the Georgia staff and the Georgia commitments to push for a commitment from Travis Smith Jr. when he is in town. So that's a big weekend to know. And he might be Georgia's #1 target. James Coley does a great job recruiting the state of Florida, and he's got his eyes on targets down there. But Travis Smith Jr., when you turn on the tape, and I put him as my #1 wide receiver in Georgia a while ago. Now I think everyone else has come to that, but over at Prep Red Zone, we've had Travis Smith Jr. as the #1 wide receiver, almost a year ago now. It was before the fall, I think, but he's outstanding, and he can pluck the ball out of the air. Again, the body control, he can contort his body to make a tough catch. He can get open, he can create separation. You don't have to just scheme him open. So you're talking about a big 6'4", 200-pounder who's a fluid runner with deceptive speed, who can stretch the field and help in the screen game. He can take off and break tackles after the catch. He's got some muscle on him. There's no doubt about it. A lot of that 200 pounds is muscle, and he can break tackles. He can run by guys. Again, I think he's an easy top 100 player in the country. My #1 wide receiver in Georgia. I think he's probably a top 10 receiver or a top 10 player in the state of Georgia. If I were to make my top 10, I still need to edit that a little bit, but I think Georgia leads Tennessee, and then Auburn and Alabama after that. But Georgia wants him badly. He's very high on Georgia, and you can read all about Travis Smith Jr. and watch his highlights over on Dawg Post. I'm reading the story that I've written. the quotes I'm reading are from the story that I've written over on Dawg Post. So, I left a couple things out because I want y'all to head over to the website to read it. And we've got a lot more coming up. So thanks for watching this video. Hope you learned something about this truly big time receiver that I do believe Georgia leads for. If they land him, it'd be a big deal, and they could land him this summer. So I think Georgia leads for Travis Smith Jr. Thanks for watching this video. You can read more about this over on Dawg Post. So I'll see you on the website.